Ian Jensen's on your left, Kelsey Dixon on your right, and I would say by Ryan's description of fine, both these players are having fine tournaments.
9-0?
Yes.
No, that's a good tournament.
That is actually a better tournament than I've ever had.
8-1 is a fine tournament.
Have you ever XO'd day one of a tournament? Like a GP, an SCG, anything?
Grand Prix Charlotte, the one I top forward, the gate crash sealed one.
Okay.
In terms of the SCGs, no. The Open that I won, I lost one of the rounds in day one, and the other ones that I top 8'd. Yeah, I don't think I've XO'd besides one Grand Prix.
I never XO'd day one of any tournament before.
Yeah, I've never even XO double drawed in a PTQ top 8.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I've never.
Wow, okay, I've done that before.
Yeah.
Here come the beatdowns, folks. The early start here for Ian Jensen. We've got an Inkmoth Nexus Inspired Industry. Those are the lands. Ornithopter, Springleaf Drum, a Vault Scourge, and the permanent that matters, that's Master of Ethereum for this fine Affinity player who's off to a nice start. Kelsey Dixon with Eldrazi-tron started things off in the Eldrazi Temple. Now he has a Ghost Quarter and simply passing the turn back over to Jensen. Jensen will draw for his third turn of the game. He's got another Spy of Industry and a Signal Pest in hand. Looks like he may have picked up a copy of Arcbound Ravager.
Just throw it all out there and get busy.
Patrick says get busy. That's probably what you're supposed to do. Well, okay,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'd say he's more than fine over turf. I would say he's more than fine.
Looks fine to me.
Ian Jensen wins game number one very quickly over Kelsey Dixon. Affinity smushes Eldrazi-tron. We are going to watch game number two between these two players in just a moment. But first, a few messages from El Sponsorino.
Go. Go.
Ian Jensen, Kelsey Dixon getting ready here for game number two. Affinity versus Eldrazi-tron. It was a beatdown in game number one there by Ian Jensen. Apparently Kelsey Dixon was on a mulligan for that game. We forgot to communicate that information.
If he had three more cards, would have even mattered. He would have had a matter shaper on the table or whatever when he died.
Yeah, kept getting smushed by that Ornithopter. Nothing really would have changed there. For Kelsey Dixon, perhaps things will change now that he's got access to a sideboard. 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Spatial Contortion, 2 Warping Whale, 2 Relic Progenitus, a Bajuga Bog, a Batterskull, a Pithing Needle, an Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, and a Worm Coil Engine.
The Warping Whales, Spatial Contortions, and Ratchet Bombs, just a little bit more removal. I can also get down with the Pithing Needle, and I think the Batterskull is probably an improvement over some of the more expensive threats in his deck.
For Ian Jensen, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Gear Power Aether Grid, 2 Spell Pierce, and here come his one-ofs in Dispatch Etched Champion, Grafdigger's Cage, Master of Ethereum, Ray of Revelation, Relic of Progenitus, and Whip Flare.
Right. I like bringing in the other Etched Champion. I would get the Dispatch in there too, and the 2 copies of Ceremonious Rejection.
Do you like that whip noise I made? That do anything for you? There you go. Now whip it. Do you know who sang that song?
I believe Devo.
That a boy. There he is. Got it going early. I see the coffee. It's like cheating. It's a great little jam right there, and a really bad music video.
No, that music video is
it is
great.
Brutal.
How familiar are you with the art of the early 80s music video?
Not as much as I should be. Can you enlighten me?
It is so awesome. You dropped a bomb on me by... it's really bothering me. I can't name the group. Oh, man, this is going to bother me.
You dropped the bomb on me.
A bomb on me.
A bomb on me.
By... Who is this by?
The Gap Band?
Yes, the Gap Band.
What kind of band name is that?
That's really frustrating. They're pretty great. That video is worth 4 minutes of your time. I'll leave it there.
Okay, okay.
I'm really embarrassed myself that I didn't have the Gap Band.
I can't believe that's the name of a band. Here's Signal Pest. And the incredibly fair Mox Opal. Pass the turn back over to Kelsey Dixon.
If you're thinking about what to play at Grand Prix Hartford or other modern tournaments, keep in mind, it's still, whatever reason, permissible to play 4 copies of that card.
That's still legal to do?
They're still letting you do it.
2 Urza lands in Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant. Kelsey Dixon just missing the Tower of Power as we head back over to Ian Jensen. Blink Moth Nexus going to team up with Ink Moth Nexus. This looks to be a Springleaf Drum. Right now you can see Jensen saying Galvanic Blast as their Spatial Contortion going to take care of the Signal Pest in response to the Springleaf Drum, so can't get any mana from that. Also, it's in response to, because it's in response to the drum, it's not a third artifact from Mox Opal, so really can't have kind of a crazy turn here. It's actually a well-timed Spatial Contortion there by Kelsey Dixon. Now here's a Vault Scourge.
Still gets him up to the requisite 3 artifacts for his Opal, plus the drum is now enabled.
Going to follow this up, it looks like, with a Signal Pest. The last 2 cards here for Jensen are Dispatch and Galvanic Blast. So no 2-mana payoff, no Plating, no Ravager, no Steel Overseer just yet for our Affinity players. We head back over to our E-Tron player, Kelsey Dixon. Again, both these players 9-0. Perfect through day number 1 here at the Wisconsin Convention Center with their respective archetypes. E-Tron may be a little bit more represented this weekend than I think some players may have expected. There's an Eldrazi Temple. That is a Ratchet Bomb. And it could be a pretty darn good Ratchet Bomb. Casting costs are pretty spread.
Still, more of this is about getting the breathing space to assemble Tron and deploy the large threats rather than necessarily getting all of Jensen's board.
Spire of Industry going to come on down. And again, Galvanic Blast and Dispatch in hand there for Jensen. Looks like he's going to fire up Blink Moth Nexus, and might as well fire up the old Ink Moth Nexus too. Beat down to the old Signal Pest Battlecry trigger. Looks like it's going to be 4 regular damage and 2 infect damage. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, if Jensen is anticipating having to slog through removal in this game, it might make more sense for him to diversify a little bit rather than try to go down one line in the damage versus infect sort of battle. He may need everything to be live.
Tower of Power was the peel there for Kelsey Dixon. He's got all the mana in the world now. Let's see what he can do with it. At the very least, see an Endbringer. I think I also see a Walking Ballista over there. Ooh, Tom Ross making an appearance on camera.
Ballista, one of the better cards you can have against Affinity, especially with a lot of mana. A lot of their sideboard involves bringing in 1-for-1 answers, and they have Galvanic Blast. It's really hard to manage Walking Ballista that way, because if you have any sort of board, so much of it gets deteriorated just by the Walking Ballista entering the battlefield. So even if you have the appropriate response, you're down a ton of resources. And if you don't have anything at all, you're just beat.
Ratchet Bomb took care of Signal Pest and Springleaf Drum, which means that Ian Jensen does not have the ability to use his Mox Opal right now. But a Springleaf Drum for the draw step means that Metalcraft can be turned back on, can also turn on one of those Nexuses. And he might go towards the Infect one, as opposed to the normal damage one there in Ink Moth, as opposed to Blink Moth. But Jensen, your affinity player here on the left. A lot to think about now because Endbringer has shown up. That's a card that can take over the game all by itself. And you have to imagine more powerful things are waiting in the wings there from your Eldrazi Tron player.
I think this stands as more of a test spell here. You get a lot of the upside of Walking Ballista in the event that the Endbringer sticks. But if you're going to bleed out a removal spell here, you'd rather have it bled out on the Endbringer.
As opposed to the Ballista.
Yeah, the Ballista is just a runaway card.
Ballista can do it all by itself.
Right.
Yeah. I suppose Endbringer can too, but Endbringer's probably worse at doing it than Ballista is. There's a Spatial Contortion on the Inkmoth Nexus. Looks like Dispatch took care of the Endbringer, but that was, dare I say, the bait.
And also part of this might be a desire to play the Walking Ballista as a 5/5 to open up to get it outside of Galvanic Blast range.
Okay. Well, here is a Walking Ballista. It's going to be for 4. Now it's down to 3. There's a Gal Blast. I think if he...
So if you respawn and shoot again...
It's down to 2 counters.
Right. So there's no way to save it.
Okay. So a couple shots over at Ian Jensen.
Right.
That's why he falls down to 17. Now we'll go back over to Ian. Not sure what he drew that turn.
And even though we're kind of at parity here, look at Dixon's life total. Jensen has just not done enough work thus far. And even if Dixon is last card in hand isn't relevant, he is drawing very heavy to a lot of cards in his deck.
Yes, he is.
That's to be charitable.
Very kind this morning. That'll be a Steel Overseer. That is a must-answer permanent. Right back over to Kelsey D. Draw a card. Thought Knot's here. I have no cards. Pass the turn back. Maybe Kelsey Dixon doesn't have much going on.
No, the last card in his hand is Waste.
Okay.
So again, drawing very heavy and with a lot of life to work with, but as things stand, he is behind.
Mox Opal on. Metalcraft is currently enabled. Not sure what Jensen drew, but he's definitely got a spell to cast. Might just be a Vault Scourge here. For black mana, yep, there's Vault Scourge. Vault Scourge plus Springleaf Drum is going to turn on Blinkmoth Nexus. Here's an attack, Steel Overseer activation. Counters up. We're going to go back over to Kelsey Dixon here. Steel Overseer starting to take over this game. Going to need an answer.
Yeah, a lot of affinity matchups can be summarized by, is this a Steel Overseer matchup or a Ravager matchup? Is it about being removal or being the best you can be on the table? This one, definitely a Steel Overseer matchup.
That'll be a Chalice for 2. And now here's an attack for 4. Chalice for 2 showing up a little bit late.
This game is starting to slip away here from Dixon. We're getting to the point where even if he draws one of his better cards, it's unclear if it's going to be enough to stabilize the game.
There's another copy of Blinkmoth Nexus.
And these lands are really problematic here for Dixon as they evade the Chalice, obviously. And his deck is not that great at blocking in the air.
And this is a real appeal to Affinity, as those lands in this deck let you do so much.
There are a lot of matchups where your opponent's loaded up with removal, and having those lands, it gives you some staying power. And there are some matchups where your opponent just can't beat flyers very easily. This matchup is a mixture of both.
Thought Not Seer is not going to do much of anything, as Kelsey Dixon drew a Matter Reshaper and a Waste and was not able to get out from underneath that Steel Overseer. Ian Jensen going to win this match over Kelsey Dixon. 2-0. Affinity going to take care of Eldrazi Tron.